Hi, readers. It's Lori. Welcome back to my channel, Books, Ink, and Paper, and welcome to the next choices for you to pick for my nonfiction read. If you're new to my channel, I put forward a number of titles each quarter for you as my subscribers and viewers to choose for me to read for my next nonfiction read. And I've really been struggling with reading my nonfiction this year, even though I had a giant, robust list of books to read. I just really have had a hard time prioritizing that. I think some of it is because I like to get lost in the world of something that is not truly happening. And sometimes I just don't prioritize it. So this particular month, I have chosen 4 books instead of 3, which is normally what I choose, I think. And I have not chosen any from that list of nonfiction books that I wanted to read this year, but I am going to try to focus more on getting some of those read. We'll see what happens in this last quarter of the year, but this will be the October through December quarter, so I will not start anything that you have chosen until at least the 1st of October. So you have some time to weigh in. I would love for you to weigh in by the 27th of September. It's kind of a random date, but it is kind of the end of the last full week of the month. So you have plenty of time to consider this and to research these books and maybe these authors if that's important to you. So let's get started. So this one I got in a little free library. It's not in great shape, but it is The Residence Inside the Private World of the White House by Kate Anderson Brower. And when we both saw this, we were very intrigued by it, and we've had it for a while. Beat up copy for sure. Should I read it and love it, I would probably replace it. But for the moment, this one will do fine. This one also has some photos in it, but just as it says, it really does give you a reflection of the White House and where the presidents and first ladies and their families live. So this one is coming on the heels of us completing the entire series of The West Wing, which we were so happy to rewatch and watch. And this one follows the Kennedys, the Clintons, the Obamas, and maybe some other presidents and dignitaries as well. The Reagans, there are photos of the Reagans here, the Bushes. So I feel like it does go through more than what it says on the synopsis on the back. But it also talks about the people that have worked and still work at the White House and what their experiences have been. I just think this is a great read, and it's not terribly long, and I've had it for a while, and I wouldn't mind picking it up. We both saw it the other day when we were shelving some books and thought, wow, this would be good timing. So that's a possibility. This one I may have brought forward before and it didn't get chosen, but this is The Library Book by Susan Orlean, who has written a number of nonfiction titles, none of which I have yet read. But this one I got years ago at one of my independent bookstores. It has deckled edges. It also has some photos, but this is about the morning of April 2nd, 1986, when a fire broke out at the Los Angeles Public Library, which, as you can imagine, is very, very large. And so the devastation and the damage to those books and to that building was incredible. And so the question is, did someone intentionally set fire to the library? There is still not a lot of accurate information to say that that is true or not true. And so I want to see how Susan Orlean approaches this and learn more about what happened at some point. I will get to this, but it might be the last quarter of the month, of the year, should you choose that one. Then a coach that I'm connected to, a professional coach, sent me a video the other day about presence with people in meetings in particular. But coaching presence is a huge part of what we are aware of as coaches that were trained by the International Coaching Federation curriculum. And one of the core coaching competencies is coaching presence, being present with your client, right? Being present with yourself when you're in a coaching session and trying to let all the other things in your brains go away. That's not always easy to do, as you probably know. So when we are in a meeting with somebody, we are usually responding to what they're saying in our brains before we respond to what they're saying, or we get on a tangent and we think about something else or something that is relevant into that particular statement, or we get defensive or we get worried or whatever we get, right? These things all happen when we're in conversations with people. This also comes down to when we are present with ourselves and when we are healed and when we are really looking at the whole picture. So the guy who did the video is Michael Singer, and I've been gifted this book before now, a while ago, The Untethered Soul, The Journey Beyond Yourself. And I read parts of it, but I don't think I ever completely finished it. So this is what would it be like if you were free from limitations and you could soar beyond boundaries? What can you do each day to find this kind of inner peace and freedom? A simple, profoundly intuitive answer to these questions, whether this is your first exploration into yourself or whether you've been working on this for some time, I think that Michael Singer can contribute something to that experience. And I really do appreciate him. He also has a book, I think it's called The Untethered Soul at Work. So if that is, which is kind of where that other one was coming from when I received it, but if that's of interest to you too, I would encourage you to take a look at it. But I really think that this is a good one, a peaceful one to end the year with, if you should choose it. And then the last one. This one has been on my backlist for a while. This is Mission from God by James Meredith, who also had some support in some way from William Doyle. If you're not familiar, James Meredith changed the course of America in two major ways. One, he was a part of the desegregation at the University of Mississippi. For those of you who know about James Meredith, you know that he had to be walked on with police escorts to the campus at that time, and that was in 1962. And he opened the door for Black Americans to be able to be accepted into universities. So that was his first commitment to changing the world. And then in 1966, the March Against Fear helped to provide opportunities for Blacks in the South in particular to be able to vote without restriction, without fear, without barriers. And so this is his memoir of his experiences in both of those situations, as well as I'm sure other experiences in his life, and his charge to help us all to understand how we can support all Americans in having access to work, to incomes that are appropriate for them to be able to do all the things that they want to do without feeling fear or restriction. So he was born in Mississippi and he came back in 1960 after having served 9 years in the Air Force. And he wanted to share the system of state terror and white supremacy in America with others so that they would be aware. And on the second day of his walk against fear, he was actually shot by a sniper. So I want to hear about that. I want to hear about his life. We actually met him, and when we received this book, he inscribed it for us. So I would like to honor that gift that he gave us of speaking that day at that event, and also to know more about his life. So whether I read this in the last quarter of the month or not, it will be read. My commitment is to have read that within a year from today. This is a hard decision, I'm sure. The Residence by Kate Anderson Brower, The Library Book by Susan Orlean, The Untethered Soul by Michael A. Singer, and A Mission from God by James Meredith with William Doyle. All right, readers, it's your turn. You weigh in on this in the comments below. On the 27th or a little bit after, I will go in and tally those comments, and then I will send out a video announcing what book you chose. So that'll either be the end of September or the beginning of October. You will have the results of our little game that we play. Thanks so much for joining me on this dreary, dark, rainy day. And as always, happy reading. Bye.